All right, week 4 of the 2024 fantasy football season, and it was probably our best week yet. A ton of guys scoring a ton of points for you out there, but that means it's time to panic. Those few guys who didn't do anything for you on Sunday while everyone else was having fun in the sun, they were sitting there leaving you miserable and frustrated with them. It's time to panic. Let's hop into it. Okay, Jaguars running back Travis Etienne. And really not great from Etienne the last 3 weeks. 14.8, 12.5, but only 7 points today against the Texans. Only 1 touchdown in those last 3 games. And you drafted Etienne as probably your first, maybe your second running back in the early, middle second round to early third round, just depending on your build. And he just has not seen the production. And the biggest concern here is the Jaguars are 0-4 and they're abysmal. They're just bad offensively. They aren't scoring points. They aren't putting the ball in the end zone. Even today, when they had maybe their best offensive performance, scoring 24 points, we didn't see anything from Etienne. He's been consistent at least with 11 carries in each of the last 2 games, but that's not enough volume. We're seeing Tank Bigsby cut into those carries pretty substantially over the last few weeks, and he's not getting involved in the passing game. Now, he had 6 targets last week on Monday night, 4 receptions, but only 2 targets and 1 catch today. Etienne is just not a focal point of this offense. They already don't score a lot of points, and when all their offense feels like is they're just throwing the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. or overthrowing him, not doing anything. And in a game where Houston was kind of struggling to keep up with the Jags, Jags were in control with the lead most of this game. They weren't able to run the ball, pound Etienne, grind out a win, and they lost because of it. The Jags are bad, and I'm getting pretty concerned if I'm an Etienne owner. Just from what we expect now, is he a safe floor most weeks? Yeah, we're probably going to see him in this 7 to 15 point range week in and week out. The Jags probably are going to see some improvement on offense. Etienne likely to get into the end zone. But overall, I'm getting pretty worried here. If I'm an Etienne owner, I'm just disgusted at what he's done for me so far. You drafted Etienne to be a lockdown number 2 back or your number 1 starting running back, and he has just not lived up to it. It's time on the panic meter. I'm giving Etienne a 6.7. It's getting pretty warm there. I still have some faith that the Jaguars are going to score some more points. They're going to get this ironed out. They're not going to win football games, but the offense is going to be better, and Etienne still has a pretty safe floor. Like I said, I expect him to be in that 7 to 15 point range most weeks, and that's safe. It's just a real letdown to what you've wanted. Okay, Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Look, I warned everybody going into the season. Why are we so sure Anthony Richardson is good? And he hasn't been good. Why are we so sure Anthony Richardson can play a full season and stay healthy? Well, now he hasn't done that either. Richardson had a monster week 1, but the last 3 weeks just abysmal. 12.8, 7.0, and only 5.2 today. But he picks up an injury. Was out for most of this game after picking up a hip injury. Now, there is some positive signs if you want to put it that way. Richardson said he was fighting to come back into the game, but he didn't. But guess what? This is the best the Colts offense has looked all season besides week 1 where it was just like 50-yard bombs. Joe Flacco came in, got the ball to the wide receivers. We saw a resurgence in Michael Pittman, who's been on this video multiple times this year. And I think Anthony Richardson's the problem. He's just not a very good quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of starts in him. He doesn't have a lot of completions. He runs the ball pretty well, but he can't do it and stay healthy. Like, it just is too much on his body. He gets beat up. He gets hurt when he has to run, and that's really what he's only good at. He wasn't accurate in college. He hasn't been accurate so far. Now, I'm not going to completely burn down the Anthony Richardson train as far as his NFL futures are concerned. He's only got like 17 starts since high school. You just got to rack up starts. You got to get that experience. That is the big risk when you draft a guy like that. But as far as fantasy is concerned, people were drafting him as like the 6th quarterback, maybe the 5th quarterback, going for that massive upside. And it's just not been there this season. I don't think Anthony Richardson's very good as if I'm Indy, like to start anymore. I get it. He's your starting quarterback. But you are so much better with Joe Flacco this week. The offense moved the ball against the Pittsburgh defense, who's been the best defense in football, 27 points. I don't think you can start Anthony Richardson at all anymore in fantasy. As far as health is concerned, it sounds like he's okay. But can he stay, healthy? Like, can he stay in games? That's the big key. Maybe he'll have those spot starts against bad defenses where he just runs wild or hits a couple of big 50-yard passes, but it's just not good. Shane Steichen probably regretting some of this stuff. I'm putting this real high. I am panicking if I drafted Anthony Richardson high. I'm putting it at a 9.1. I don't think you can start him or even hang on to him much longer. Maybe for that potential upside spot start if your other quarterback is on a bye. But man, I'm going to have a real hard time putting him in my lineup. Okay, how about Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson? Now, Wilson was taken at the back end of the first round, early second round in most drafts. And I think a lot of people had some optimism. We were going to get a healthy Aaron Rodgers. This offense was going to flourish. And Wilson's been a solid wide receiver in each of his first 2 years with absolutely nothing at quarterback. But I guess we didn't take into account that Nathaniel Hackett is the worst play caller in the NFL. This offense is a joke. I mean, it's a basic middle school West Coast offense. There is no creativity. There is no route concepts or route combinations to try and get Wilson open. They don't do a good enough job of getting him the ball in space downfield, and everybody's putting their top corners on him. Now, he did draw a tough assignment today in bad weather with Patrick Surtain, but only 10.2, 14.3, which is his high on the season, and 7.1 today. It just hasn't been good enough. Only 1 touchdown on the year, 8 targets, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 5 receptions. And it's for 33 yards and 41 yards. I just don't think Wilson's got that big explosive play ability that we were expecting from him. And I don't blame him, and I don't blame the quarterback. I blame this offense as a whole. I just don't think the play calling is there. I would fire Nathaniel Hackett and try and get literally anybody else. I'll come in and call plays for the Jets just to try and get this figured out, because it's a real struggle to watch them. You got to have more consistency from Wilson. You're expecting like 15 at minimum. Like 15 should be the floor for Wilson each and every week, and that's been his, like, not even his ceiling this year. It's really frustrating. Again, another letdown season for those of us who drafted Garrett Wilson high, and it's not even the quarterback play. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has been that bad. I just think it's this play calling. It's the entire scheme as a whole, and that's what's got me concerned. I don't know how you fix this as far as how are we going to get more creative plays in there? How are we going to get Wilson the ball in space to let him go make plays? Because if you're just going to say F it and throw the ball up to him, it's not good enough, man. That's not going to be a recipe for success. I'm very, very concerned about Wilson overall. I'm going to put my panic at a 7.4 for Garrett Wilson right now. It doesn't look good, and really it's the fundamentals of this offense that concern me the most. Okay, let's go with Wilson's teammate, Jets running back Breece Hall. Now, Breece has been real strong so far to start the season. In the last 3 weeks, not terrible, 24.4, 18.3, pretty solid weeks, but only 3.8 today and only 10 carries. I mean, he didn't do anything today. Just an abysmal all-around game. 10 carries, 4 yards, 0.4 yards a carry. What are we doing here, New York? And that's what I'm starting to get concerned in. We've seen more and more Braylon Allen in the backfield with this offense. A lot more passing opportunities, swing passes to the running back. They like him a lot. And what's not to like? He's the youngest player in the NFL. He's explosive. He runs hard. But that's killing us as fantasy owners. You drafted Breece Hall as high as 1. I saw Breece Hall go 1 in multiple drafts. He was your hammer running back. He was supposed to be your hero RB, especially once Christian McCaffrey looked like he was down. It was going to be all Breece all the time. And it's a little concerning here that we see a 3.8. We see his carries go down. And it's the offensive scheme as a whole. Like, the fundamentals of this offense aren't good. The play calling is bad. He's not involved in the passing game as a running back. But with all of that said, all the issues I've pointed out with the Jets, I still think Breece Hall is a recipe for success. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to force him to get the rock and get carries. I'm going to put my panic at a much lower 3.2 for Breece Hall. It's only 1 bad week. I know Denver's run defense was really bad the first few weeks, but it's been good the last 2 against Tampa and now the Jets. The weather conditions were awful. The offensive line getting a little banged up. I just think it was a horrendous game from Nat Hackett, completely outcoached all across the board. I'm not going to really panic on Breece Hall yet, but he's got another tough assignment this upcoming week, going to London against the Vikings run defense, who's been as stout as anybody in the league. So maybe more reason to have some more concern, but I think you can take it down 1 or 2 weeks and figure things out. Okay, how about Kyle Pitts? I was told by everybody this was the year. Atlanta Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts was going to be the man. One of the highest drafted tight ends in the modern era, and Pitts has never lived up to the hype. He had a good rookie season, but since then it's been really, really, really disappointing, and we blamed a lot of that on Arthur Smith, on the quarterback situation for them. In comes Kirk Cousins, who loves, and I repeat, loves throwing to tight ends. He was the most tight end happy quarterback last season before he got injured with TJ Hawkinson. And you figured a guy like Kyle Pitts was going to slide right in, get all these targets. And it's been bad, man. 4 targets 3 weeks ago, 5 targets last week, only 3 targets today, 0 receptions, a fat goose egg against the Saints today. Only 5 points against the Eagles, 7.9 last week against the Chiefs. And maybe probably should have drawn a pass interference in the end zone. But that's what I'm most concerned with. I know the Saints defense is pretty good, but this Falcons offense had a nice day. Kirk Cousins was throwing the ball okay, threw for over 200 yards. They were able to move the ball in spots, and Pitts just couldn't get anything. A 0. It's concerning that Kyle Pitts can't catch a ball. You're a tight end, bro. Now, maybe they're sending him too far down the field. He's running 10-yard routes, and he's got to find that sweet spot in 7 to 5. But it feels like Pitts just doesn't know where to sit in zones. He's not good at reading and reacting to what the defense is giving him. He doesn't get into the end zone. I know he had a touchdown week 1, but that's it. It's just, I mean, it's real worrisome there. When especially last week against Kansas City, he was carried by a 50-yard reception. He had 59 yards carried by 1 catch. So maybe Pitts will have 1 big play. It's just bad. I mean, it's flat out bad. If I drafted Kyle Pitts to be a tight end that I thought I could rely on week in and week out, it's not there, man. I don't think you can play Kyle Pitts anymore. I don't think you can cut him, though, because there is the concern and the worry in the back of my head that the Falcons offense is just going to get better and better each and every week. It's looked a lot better since they played Pittsburgh. It's progressing. Kirk's getting a little bit more comfortable with his guys, and maybe it's just going to take time, but we've seen this before from Kyle Pitts. I'm putting the panic pretty high here. I'm giving him an 8.3 on the panic meter. It's time to worry. It's getting on fire. I'm glad I didn't invest in Kyle Pitts once again, because I was smart enough to know all the offseason hype I kind of fell for when push came to shove. I couldn't trust him. Okay, how about Packers running back Josh Jacobs? People were starting to get concerned. The Packers are running the ball so much. 32 carries for him, but only 151 yards, no touchdowns, has a turnover, and 14 carries last week. They go with Emmanuel Wilson. They go with Malik Willis. Only 5.8 points. And, he had a better performance today. Jordan Love stepping back in, I think, was what we were wanting to see with Josh Jacobs. And he was better today, 11.8. 9 carries, only 51 yards, but they were down 28-0 right, in the second quarter. So the game script just didn't ever pan out for him. And Minnesota's run defense has been one of the best run defenses in football this year. Did get involved in the passing game a little bit, had 6 targets, 4 receptions, only 27 yards. But, Josh Jacobs isn't that kind of running back. He's not a pass-catching running back, and Green Bay doesn't always throw to their running backs. I think Jacobs here, it's okay. I think it's going to be okay. I think Jordan Love coming back in is going to help him tremendously. Defenses are going to have to back off. They're going to have to play coverage. You're going to get some softer fronts. And Matt LaFleur is one of the best play callers and coaches in this league. He's going to find ways to get Josh Jacobs downhill with the ball in running lanes, because Josh Jacobs can still, chug along, find the hole, get upfield, chunk out some yards. He's had some nice runs this year. Doesn't have that big home run threat anymore, I don't think. And you know what? Just get him in the end zone a couple times. If Josh Jacobs can find the end zone, twice in these last 3 weeks, I think we're going to be feeling a lot better than we have been about him. We'd be feeling pretty good all around. So I'm not going to panic too much, but it is a little concerning. They got Wilson involved more in the backfield. I want to see what it looks like with Love, in there at quarterback now after it seems like he's back. He was a little slow to start the game, but he definitely got stronger for them. And it was just a bad script all around for them. Not going to panic too much, but there's some panic. There is panic. I'm putting it at 5.9. We're getting into that, do I start Josh Jacobs every week? Are there better flex options? Do I put him as my flex? But I want to see more Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs duo, what this offense looks like, because it's a completely different offense when they have Malik Willis at quarterback versus Jordan Love. Okay, Derek Carr, welcome back to being Derek Carr. After lighting the league on fire the first 2 weeks of the season, he was like quarterback number 2 or number 3. It's been pretty dreadful the last 2 weeks. 8.98, 9.06 against an okay Falcons defense this week, but a really bad Eagles defense and secondary last week. This is the Derek Carr we all know and we all love, and you hate if you're a Saints fan. But it's really Carr's limited in his opportunities. They throw the ball a ton, they get yards, but he just doesn't get any touchdowns. They hand the ball to Kamara, they give the ball to Taysom Hill, they put Taysom Hill in at quarterback. They do all sorts of this goofy stuff. Now, Derek Carr is not a guy that you really invested in. I don't think anybody probably drafted Derek Carr. Maybe super late as your number 2 QB. He's really a waiver wire pickup. I just don't think he's reliable. I don't think he's a guy you can start as that middle tier quarterback like a Brock Purdy, like potentially a Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker's kind of working his way up into like oh yeah, we starting Baker like that. But I just don't think Derek Carr is that. We've known what Derek Carr is. He's 30 plus years old, 35, I think. You just don't all of a sudden become a different quarterback. I know, but Baker, but Sam Darnold, Peter, guys, those guys are a lot younger and they get a lot more coaching. We know what Derek Carr is. He is a complete and finished product. And it's kind of just whatever, man. I mean, the hype was there the first few weeks. This is everyone got film. I say it all the time. Once you get film on quarterbacks, anybody can put up a nice 2 to 4 week stretch in this league. But once coordinators know what you want to do, we're going to take away what you want to do. It just gets bad. He got hurt. He's thrown a pick in 3 straight games. He probably threw a pick week 1, but he's thrown a pick in each of the last 3 games. I'm panicking if I'm a Derek Carr owner and he's my only quarterback. I just don't think you can rely on him the rest of the season. I'm putting the panic meter at an 8.5 for Derek Carr. It's not good for the Saints QB. Okay, how about my man J.K. Dobbins? I was driving the bus for the J.K. Dobbins hype train coming into this season, and he had monster performances in each of the first 2 weeks. But the last 2 weeks, not great. 8.4, 9.2. Now, it's not terrible. J.K. Dobbins was a very late round running back. He was a bench running back for everybody. I can't imagine somebody drafted J.K. Dobbins to be their starter. And you know what? You're going to have down weeks. Played a great defense in Pittsburgh and played a really good defense in Kansas City this week. You're missing both of your tackles on offense. They just really struggled to move the football as a whole. Still seeing that consistent carry mark, though. 17 carries, 15 carries, 14 carries. He gets his share. Those are good. And he's involved in the pass game some. 3 targets last week, 4 targets this week, had 3 receptions each of those weeks. And, 30 yards receiving is a nice day. We just want to see more efficiency. I mean, look at that. 3 weeks ago, 7.7 yards per carry, 2.9 last week, 2.3 this week. I think it's just bad matchups for Dobbins. Now, the Chargers are heading on the bye next week, so they need to rest up, get healthy. I think this is going to be okay. Get a little bit of a reset. They're 2-2. No panic here because you didn't really invest too much in J.K. Dobbins, and I expect him to still have those awesome performances for you. More 20-point games where you throw him in your flex or you throw him in as your RB2 because of injuries or bye weeks now. We're starting to get into the mix of it, and he's going to get it done for you. So I'm putting the panic meter on J.K. Dobbins at a low 4.6. I think he's still a very valuable guy to keep on your team. Don't overreact to a couple of down weeks because sometimes you just play great teams in this league. And our final one, sad face, tears, pour one out for our guy Rashee Rice. He was having an unbelievable season this year, but taken out by Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes dives into his leg on an interception trying to, make a play or something, and it looks like the worst. Rumblings are that he tore his ACL. He will get an MRI on Monday to confirm it. But it's not good. It's not good. It's sad. I guess you throw the panic meter at 1 million because it doesn't look like Rice is playing again this year. Patrick said, I hope he can come back. But if it's a torn ACL, he's toast, folks. We're already a month into the season. Just a really sad letdown because this Chiefs offense has been decimated. And that's why it's really hard to win 3 straight Super Bowls. But now the Chiefs' number 1 running back's out. Their number 1 wide receiver's out. And it's just pain all around for us fantasy owners who were like, hey, Kansas City Chiefs offense, let's invest in that. All we've been is punished for it. But that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know in the comments below, who are you panicking on? I know probably some of you guys out there just can't believe the injury luck you've had. But hey, some of our guys turned it around this week. We were feeling bad last week, and now we're feeling great this week. So let me know in the comments below. Be sure, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got all the fantasy content you could possibly need throughout the week. We got your must-start videos for wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, every single matchup, your must-add waiver wire guys you should buy low on target. We got live streams answering all your roster, all your fantasy questions throughout the week. So make sure you're subscribed. Don't miss that out. Check out the links below, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.